In the heart of Manila, where the city never seems to pause, there's a mountain that still smokes, not from firewood or factories, but from tons of decomposing waste. This is Smokey Mountain, a place where thousands of people live, work, and die, surrounded by trash. They didn't choose this life. They ended up here because there was nowhere else to go. Here, filth, danger, and poverty are not occasional risks, they are daily reality. In this episode of NVL Travel Documentary, we take you inside one of the Philippines' most toxic trash mountains to witness how life somehow still endures. Number 1. Philippines' undisturbed garbage mountain. Just 3 kilometers north of the historic center of Manila lies one of the most symbolically polluted places in the country, Tondo. Wedged between the Pasig River and Manila Bay, this district was once the center of Manila's port trade. Today, it's home to Smokey Mountain, a former landfill that still defines the geography and the destiny of thousands who live there. From the 1970s to the early 1990s, this area absorbed nearly all of Metro Manila's solid waste. The dump grew into a literal mountain over 50 meters high, covering more than 20 hectares, just steps away from residential blocks, schools, and coastlines. Officially, it was shut down in the year 1995. But the land, the smoke, and the people never really left. Because of its location near the city's industrial ports and railway access points, the area remained a magnet for migrants from rural provinces. By 2025, over 750,000 people live in and around Tondo and nearby Barangay Baseco, most without land titles or legal status. The old landfill has now evolved into a patchwork of informal housing surrounded by narrow alleys, stagnant water, and piles of residual waste that resurface with every rainfall. The sea breeze from Manila Bay doesn't bring relief, it spreads the stench inland. During the dry season, dust from decomposed plastic and ash floats through the air. During monsoon months, the nearby Estero de Vitas Canal overflows, turning walkways into sewage-filled paths. This geography doesn't just shape the land, it traps its people. The land beneath their homes is unstable. Methane gas accumulates under compressed layers of old waste, increasing the risk of underground fires and gas leaks. Without proper infrastructure or land tenure, residents are left with no option but to adapt. Generations have grown up here learning how to survive in a place the city has tried to forget. Number 2. Live with filth and poverty. Poverty in Smokey Mountain isn't just a lack of income, it's a condition that defines every moment of daily life. In this corner of Manila, people don't simply live near waste. They live surrounded by it, on top of it, and beneath it. The ground underfoot isn't soil. It's compressed layers of plastic food scraps, industrial debris, and ash. Walking here feels like stepping on a sponge soaked in decay. There is no dry, solid space, only shifting, unstable garbage. Homes, if they can be called that, are built from whatever can be found. Rusted tin roofing, splintered wood, sagging tarpaulins, and sometimes even old billboards or campaign posters. Some families use broken bed frames as fences. These structures offer little protection from heat, rain, or disease, but they're the only shelter available. Families squeeze into rooms no larger than a parked car, sharing everything: airspace, silence, and sometimes hunger. Basic infrastructure is absent. There are no toilets, no piped water, and no steady electricity. Water is stored in old paint buckets or cut-up soda bottles. Cooking is done with damp charcoal under plastic sheeting. At night, the alleys turn dark except for the dim glow of stolen electricity or candles flickering beside mosquito nets. During the rainy season, floodwaters rise quickly, bringing sewage and garbage straight into people's homes. In summer, the heat bakes the plastic and rot, filling the air with a chemical stench that never fully goes away. Poverty here means not just a lack of comfort, but a constant negotiation with danger. Physical, environmental, and emotional. According to barangay officials in Aroma waste pickers, first try to recover anything of value from the daily piles of garbage. After sorting, the remaining trash is dragged to a nearby dock. From there, a barge carries it to a former sanitary landfill in Bataan, about 3 hours away. Even after all that effort, the income is painfully small, a few pesos per day. But for many, it's enough for a meal, and that for some children is something to be proud of. Despite all this, the community has adapted in ways that show both resilience and desperation. Items others consider trash become tools for survival. Broken electric fans are turned into cooking stoves. Scrap metal is sold, and plastic bags are washed, dried, and reused. People have become experts at seeing value in what the world discards because they've had no choice. Number 3. Women in the Garbage Mountain. Before most of the city is awake, the narrow pathways of Smokey Mountain come alive with movement. Women step carefully through heaps of garbage, balancing sacks on their backs, sorting recyclables under the first light of day. For many, this work is not only unpaid and unprotected, it's the only option they've ever had. Across the Philippines, women account for more than half of informal waste pickers. But according to Ange Aguilos from the Eco Waste Coalition, men are the ones who typically gain access to more stable opportunities in the formal waste sector. Local governments often hire men to drive garbage trucks or haul carts. Meanwhile, women may be hired as street sweepers, but those jobs are scarce and irregular. Research from EcoWaste in 2025 confirms that women face significant barriers in accessing skills training capital and tools that would help them earn more in the same line of work. This inequality trickles down to the next generation. Santoyo, a mother of 4, is always accompanied by her 10-year-old daughter, Kat. The girl helps clean and sort the items they plan to sell to junk shops. With no one else to care for her during the day, Kat has learned the rhythms of the garbage trade almost by instinct. Santoyo remembers when Kat was just 2 months old, fragile, underweight, and sick. Doctors told her that a parasitic infection had likely come from contaminated waste. They suspected she had passed the infection to her daughter through breastfeeding. That memory haunts her, and it fuels a quiet promise her daughter must not grow up in the same cycle. Each day, she works for 100 to 150 pesos, often risking her health while walking barefoot across trash soaked in chemicals. There are no gloves thick enough, no clinics close enough, and no policies in place that acknowledge women like her as part of the workforce that keeps the city clean. Number 4. Danger lurks from all sides. For the women and families working in Smokey Mountain, danger doesn't come in one form. It comes from every side, every pile, every breath. The risk isn't just injury, it's collapse, contamination, and even combustion. In July of the year 2000, more than 200 waste pickers died when a towering mountain of trash in Payatas, Quezon City suddenly gave way and caught fire. That disaster left bodies buried under garbage and smoke, with families digging through the ash for weeks to recover their loved ones. It shocked the nation and pushed lawmakers to pass Republic Act No. 9003, the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, banning open dumps and requiring proper waste segregation collection and disposal across the country. But more than 2 decades later, the promise of that law remains far from reality. Mixed garbage still floods into landfills and illegal dump sites. Local governments have launched recycling programs, but enforcement is often inconsistent or symbolic. Waste segregation at the source, a core part of the law, barely exists in most communities. This failure puts waste pickers in constant danger. Beneath every layer of trash, there could be rusted nails, shattered glass syringes, or leaking batteries. Methane gas released as trash decomposes builds silently beneath the surface. It can explode with a spark. Many women have been burned or injured in fires sparked by methane pockets near informal sorting areas. The injuries are daily and often invisible. Infections from open wounds, respiratory damage from constant smoke and rotting fumes, and long-term illness from handling hazardous materials without protection. There are no helmets, no gloves thick enough, and no safe zones. Just bare hands, thin shoes, and constant vigilance. Despite their critical role in keeping cities like Manila functional, these workers earn only a few hundred pesos per day and remain at the very bottom of the recycling chain. Their work protects public health, but no one protects them. Number 5. Children picking up trash. In Smokey Mountain, childhood often begins not with toys or school books, but with sacks and scrap metal. Many children as young as 5 or 6 follow their parents into the garbage each morning, learning how to sort recyclables, avoid sharp glass, and recognize the smell of rotting plastic. Over time, the rhythm of scavenging becomes as normal to them as play is to other children. This harsh reality directly violates Philippine labor law, which states that children under 15 are not allowed to work, unless employed by a legal guardian and only in jobs that pose no risk to their life, health, or moral development. Waste picking is officially classified as hazardous. But in areas like Tondo, where poverty leaves little room for choice, laws often collapse under the weight of survival. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, by December 2021, there were an estimated 597,000 working children between the ages of 5 and 17. While this marked a decrease from earlier years, the proportion of those in dangerous jobs increased, reaching 68%, a 7% rise from 2019. Community leaders point out that many families simply have no one to watch over the younger children. If no one is there, they go pick up garbage, said Rivera, a social worker, quoted by Ecobusiness. The children quickly learn that even a few pesos can buy something small: food, school supplies, or soap. The ability to earn even a little becomes a source of pride and a substitute for dependence. Jobs considered hazardous include plantation labor, mining, domestic work, and street begging and scavenging ranks among the most physically and emotionally draining. Children are exposed to broken glass, toxic waste, and air thick with smoke and rot. They face risks not just to their bodies, but to their futures, as work replaces learning and survival replaces play. Number 6. Inequality. Water doesn't flow equally in Manila. In the city's wealthy districts, it arrives silently pressurized, filtered, and endless. Faucets run without hesitation, and showers last as long as one wishes. Decorative fountains bubble in hotel courtyards, and lawns are kept green even through the dry season. Water is part of the background here, invisible in its abundance. But just a few kilometers away, in informal settlements surrounding landfills and flood zones, every drop is a calculation. For thousands of families living in makeshift homes near Smokey Mountain, access to clean water depends on how much they can carry or afford. Vendors push metal carts through narrow alleys, selling 20-liter jugs at prices disproportionately high for families earning from waste picking or informal labor. Storage is limited, hygiene is rationed, and illness is common. This daily struggle highlights more than inequality. It reveals who gets counted in the city's future. Despite the Philippine government's repeated commitments to universal water access, many of these neighborhoods remain excluded from official infrastructure plans. Their homes aren't formally recognized, their residents often undocumented, and their voices rarely heard in consultations. urban development moves quickly elsewhere, building metro stations, toll roads, and airport terminals while these zones remain in bureaucratic limbo. What's more striking is that the communities most affected by flooding heat and waste are often the least prioritized in climate resilience plans. The women who clean recyclables by hand, the children who grow up next to toxic streams, these are the people carrying the environmental cost of urban life, while receiving none of its protections. It's not simply a matter of rich versus poor. It's a matter of who the city is being designed for. In a capital that speaks proudly of modernization, ask yourself, why are some households protected by infrastructure while others are shielded only with tarpaulins and hope? And how long can a city grow upward while ignoring those kept beneath the pipes? Number 7. Promise without execution. As you leave places like Smokey Mountain and travel across other urban and rural communities, the larger system surrounding these children begins to reveal itself. Behind each small pair of hands, sorting plastic or aluminum lies a broader issue. One shaped not just by poverty, but by policy failures. The Philippine government has introduced strong environmental laws, including the Extended Producer Responsibility Act and waste segregation mandates. On paper, these measures are meant to reduce pollution and create sustainable systems. But as you've already seen, what's written in legislation rarely matches what happens on the ground. By the beginning of 2025, only about 39 out of every 100 barangays had begun implementing basic waste segregation at the household level. In most areas, garbage is still collected in mixed form, reducing recyclability and increasing health risks for those who scavenge through it, including children. These gaps in implementation have another consequence. They continue to exclude informal waste workers from the official system. Although they collect a large portion of the country's recyclable materials, just are not formally recognized, protected, or supported. Children often work beside them unregistered, unpaid, and unseen by local plans and budgets. Recent data shows that fewer than 20 out of every 100 municipal waste strategies include any mention of informal sector integration. So while the law forbids children from working in hazardous conditions, national waste policy creates conditions where such labor is not only possible, but inevitable. When policy lacks clear enforcement and meaningful inclusion, it creates a space where survival takes priority over safety and where promises lose their power. In the shadows of well-written legislation, are communities left to fend for themselves using whatever tools they can to get by. How can environmental justice truly be achieved if the very people who carry the weight of our waste are left out of the solution? Number 8. The movement for rights. In the year 2024, a quiet but powerful shift began to take place across the Philippines' waste sector. For the first time, waste pickers from different provinces, many of them women, joined forces not just to be heard, but to organize. The result was the formation of the Philippine National Waste Workers Alliance, a historic national coalition demanding formal recognition labor rights and protections long denied. This movement didn't begin in air-conditioned boardrooms. It was born out of frustration after years of being excluded from policy consultations, overlooked in climate adaptation plans, and denied the most basic protections afforded to other workers. And for women in the waste sector, that exclusion was even deeper. Their labor has been systemically devalued, often labeled as informal, non-essential, or simply invisible. The alliance is led predominantly by women, many of whom have spent decades working in the shadows of the waste economy. Now they are standing in front of government halls, calling for a Magna Carta for waste workers. This proposed legislation demands nothing extravagant. Occupational safety access to social protection, maternity benefits, fair compensation, and a seat at the table, when decisions about waste and climate are made. Aloja Santos, president of the Dumaguete Women Waste Workers Association and founding chair of the National Alliance, made it clear. We are calling for, among other things, just compensation, social welfare, and protection because we provide essential services to society. We deserve the same benefits and protection as any other worker, perhaps even more. Without us, society cannot function effectively. Behind these legal demands is something deeper, a redefinition of dignity. For too long, women waste workers have been portrayed only as victims of poverty or symbols of resilience. This movement challenges that framing. These women are no longer waiting for policies to include them. They are writing their own terms of inclusion. Supported by civil society coalitions like No Burn Pilipinas, Wiego, and reported by platforms such as Business World and the Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives, the alliance is gaining momentum. They have appeared in congressional hearings, drafted position papers, and forged alliances with labor unions and environmental groups. Their leadership reframes waste not as a problem, but as a site of organized labor, political voice, and feminist action. This is not just a labor movement. It's a call to restructure how society values the women who do the work no one else wants. And finally, to listen when they speak. Amid the smoke-stained skies of Smokey Mountain, where the ground itself is layered with decades of human waste, a community fights to survive. This is not just a landfill. It is a living, breathing settlement built on top of trash shaped by hands that never stop working. Here, labor knows no age or gender. Fathers, mothers, teenagers, and children all climb the same unstable hills of refuse, hoping each day to find just enough plastic, metal, or cardboard to exchange for a few pesos. With every step, they face danger from broken glass, toxic fumes, and collapsing heaps. But they keep going, because in Smokey, rest is a luxury and safety is never guaranteed. However, what often goes unseen beneath the filth and chaos is the strength of a people who endure. They are not victims of their environment, they are survivors of a broken system. Their labor keeps the city clean, but they remain unrecognized. Their neighborhoods are excluded from basic services, their work dismissed as informal, and their futures constantly uncertain. Smokey Mountain is more than a symbol of poverty. It is a reflection of how society treats those it depends on, but refuses to protect. What these workers ask for is not sympathy, it is dignity. The right to be seen, heard, and valued, not only for what they salvage, but for who they are. If this glimpse into life atop the Philippines' most toxic trash mountain has moved you, if it made you pause, reflect, or question what lies behind your clean city streets, then let's not look away. Please like and subscribe to NVL Travel Documentaries to follow more untold stories that deserve to be seen.